Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we are going to be talking about our favorite Disney films that are represented and featured in the theme parks, and how well they're represented, and maybe how not well they're represented. So that's going to be our discussion today. Live from the Bob Varley studio here in Orlando, Florida, this is the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 824 for the week of June 23rd, 2015. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Well, again, hello and welcome, everyone. We are coming to you live from the Bob Varley studio here in Orlando, Florida for this episode of the Diz Unplugged. I am your host, Dustin West, and I am joined at the table this week by my good friends John Magi.
Hi, everybody.
Kevin Close.
Howdy.
Jackie Gailey.
Hi, guys.
Kathy Whirling.
Hi, everybody.
And back in the production nook, we have Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
And Gregory Williams.
How the heck are you?
I'm pretty good. Well, like I said at the start of the show, we're going to be talking about some of the Disney films that are in the theme parks. And we want to kind of have a discussion about two different things. Our favorite films and how they've made their way into the theme parks, and how we feel, or which ones we feel are the best either representation of the film and plot and story and themes themselves, or the ones that we just like the most, or the most fun for us. And so that's the ones that are doing it right. The other end of this conversation would be some of the Disney films we feel like should be represented more, or feel like are already there but could do a better job. And I also opened it up to the Diz Unplugged Facebook page, and a lot of you guys have sent in your thoughts on this, so we'll bring that into the conversation as well. If you were watching the news show earlier today, we were kind of talking about Frozen, and that's one of the more recent instances of, you know, a brand new movie making its way into the theme parks, and we've seen how it's been done and how sometimes we feel like maybe that one wasn't handled so well right off the bat. And again, interesting to see how that's going to be handled in the future. And we're also talking about things that have been here for quite a while. And so I'll just open it up to you guys if anybody has anything they want to talk about.
I want to start with a very, very complicated situation. Are you ready?
Yes.
It's so complicated and convoluted. I think the best ride that doesn't interpret the best movie in the worst way is Splash Mountain and Song of the South.
Okay.
I love Splash Mountain. I love Song of the South. If you ride that ride, you have no idea what the movie is really about. Yeah. But I think what they've done is Walt took the best elements from that. Walt Disney World took the best elements from that movie and incorporated it into a fun ride, but it doesn't really give the entire picture.
Right. That movie's kind of hard to come by nowadays, and it's not a fully animated film. It's more about one character is kind of telling stories to a younger character, and these are the animated portions, are those stories that he's telling.
Racially insensitive rides are hard to come by.
And that was that was mentioned a few times on Facebook, although I feel this is Marcy Smith, although I feel it's really unfortunate that we aren't able to see the film anymore. Song of the South is represented well in Splash Mountain. It's my favorite family attraction, and the best part about it is that you don't have to see the movie to enjoy it. There are other rides and shows that are based on Disney movies that you really need to see the movie first in order to get the full effect. Splash Mountain can stand on its own, and it's enjoyable even if you haven't seen the film. However, I love that there is an attraction that pays homage to Song of the South.
As somebody who, the last couple years is only really when I've started watching Disney movies, and I started watching Disney movies just because I knew there must be something from these movies that they're putting in the parks. I think most of the attractions at Disney World stand on their own. Like, I didn't need to see any of the movies to get what was going on.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen some of the movies, I like the touches that they put there.
You do not need to see the Haunted Mansion movie to enjoy the Haunted Mansion.
As a matter of fact, don't watch the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, this is about the rides and attractions where the movie came first, not that. So many words
Atrocity.
I want to say. I think something you bring up, Kathy, and it's interesting about Disney World and Disneyland and all the Disney theme parks is that especially the attractions that are based on films, they have a way that they can kind of pocket size those story elements and get it in there so that you do understand it without seeing the film. The other thing that Disney has going for them is the fact that a lot of these characters and a lot of these stories are in the zeitgeist. People are aware of the pop culture of these things. So, you could have never seen The Little Mermaid, but you want to go see the Little Mermaid ride, and you basically know what that character is and what that story is.
Well, there are rides that follow the story almost step by step, even though, like you said, they kind of distill it down to its basic elements. So for a whatever it is, 15-second, 30-second ride. But there are rides that have nothing to do with the original story, like Toy Story Mania, that, it's a completely different concept based on a movie with characters that stand on their own.
Yeah, it almost, something like Toy Story Mania also almost kind of takes place as like a sequel to the movie. It takes place after the movie, and it's okay. Andy got a new toy, and so this is what would happen if Andy got a new toy, and all you have to know is how to have fun and how to pull a trigger on a balloon.
Right,
Kathy, when you went back and looked at movies, were there any rides where you thought, "Well, that's not what I thought the story was," like Peter Pan or? The ones that sort of do a step-by-step.
Peter Pan, I thought when I watched the movie, it's like, why?
Why?
I thought the attraction was much better than the movie was.
I also don't enjoy that movie, Kathy.
Okay.
But I love
So
Peter
I
Pan.
love Peter Pan.
I
Oh
love
my
Peter
God.
Pan. I don't love the Peter Pan movie.
And like Dumbo to me seems very happy. And then when I watch the movie, it's
Oh,
like,
no.
ooh,
Dumbo's
that's,
sad.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
dark. That's
Yeah.
And that's one of these on this list that I feel like doesn't convey the plot of the movie at all. Obviously, there's no storyline
Right.
there. You're just getting in a hollowed out elephant and riding in a circle.
Right.
What are some of the other examples any of you guys might have?
Well, I'd mentioned the Frozen. We talked about that a little bit, but they took over the American Idol Theater. It's now the Hyperion Theater,
Okay.
and we were there for the second show of the first day, and you would have thought they were giving money away for all the people that wanted to get into the theater. And I'm not like, okay, it's Frozen. How many times can we hear this? And the actors that they had up on the stage that were sort of like telling the story, and they put all these little jokes in there and everything. And then when the effects started happening, you're there like, there it is. I had tears, and Katie looked at me and like, really? Really? You're going to cry about this? And I says, no, it was Disney genius. It's like, they could have just slapped anything out there. And I thought they really took the time with what they had on stage and just the whole atmosphere in the theater. It's like Disney gets it,
I love that too.
So,
You know what else was like that? Was the Hunchback show.
Oh my gosh.
I thought the Hunchback show was actually, I thought they were prepping that for Broadway.
Yeah, it was
so good.
It was really good. It
That's
was a
the-
miniature Broadway version of that.
I said to Katie when we came out of there, I says, for all the people that complain about how much a park ticket costs, when you saw the caliber of that show that they put on, I don't know how you could complain about the price of your ticket, because you really saw a show.
Well, on that same note, too, you guys just brought up Hunchback. You're talking about this show. Then I would throw in the Finding Nemo show at Animal Kingdom is in that same realm of tells the story of the movie in a different way because it wasn't a musical and now it's a musical, and I don't know, it's cool. I like the puppets and I like when they're all doing the wire work and stuff.
I also wanted to mention at the top of this that, in some ways I kind of got this idea from one of our contributors wrote an article, and I'll post this article in the show notes page. It's by Katie Lincoln, the top 10 most featured movies at Walt Disney World. And it's not necessarily talking about whether or not, it does a good job or whether or not we like it or don't like it. It's literally which films, it's a top 10 list, which films are most heavily featured in the parks. And it's kind of cool. So I'll throw that in the show notes page. The other thing I wanted to mention is I apologize for not having any photos to go along with this. I'll try to put links to these different attraction pages that we have on WDW Info. I kind of had a weird morning. For the last 2 days, I've been 2 hours behind. I didn't know it. I was on Salt Lake City time. Literally, not jet lag. I didn't change my clocks.
There you go.
I thought it was 9 o'clock and it was actually
We
11
had a hard
o'clock.
time recovering in general from this last trip. I don't know if it was because we changed times so often out and then back, but it seems like we've had a rough time too.
So one of the ones that comes up a lot on Facebook, the first one to mention it was Jennifer Corey. I have to vote for Be Our Guest Restaurant, fabulously themed. With the addition of New Fantasyland, there was a heavy focus on Beauty and the Beast, and
That was the movie I was going to bring up.
okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that has worked its way into the parks?
Well, so the first experience, I loved Beauty and the Beast as a little girl. And when we went to see the Beauty and the Beast show at the theater in Hollywood Studios, that was the first experience I had with that movie in real life. And I thought that was awesome. So I thought it was just a miniature Broadway show. And then when New Fantasyland came, I really think that the restaurant feels like, when you combine it with the what's the dad's name? I'm at a blank right now.
Maurice?
Maurice.
Crazy old Maurice?
Yes. So when you have Maurice's Cottage, and then you have the Be Our Guest Restaurant, and then you have Gaston's Tavern, I felt like I had absolutely walked into that movie.
Right.
I'm like so all about, anybody that knows me knows that I love the magical, fantasy. Magic is my favorite. So I love to just immerse myself in the whole world of that. And I felt like I had walked into that movie.
That was the attraction that got me started watching movies, because when I walked in there, I'm there like, look at all this stuff. And the thing that made me want to watch the movie then was the rose in the jar.
In the
and I'm
West
like,
Wing.
okay.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does this mean that Disney...
Why are people excited about it? What is
Yes. And so
Intriguing,
on the
right?
Disney cruise, they have that one channel that has all the Disney movies. And Katie and I both watched it. And within 5 minutes, where they're like, oh, we get it now. And then you watch the movie and then you go, oh, look, but they put that. That's what I love about Disney. It's the details that they put in.
And with New Fantasyland, especially with the Beauty and the Beast stuff, this is, Disney has always done themed lands and amazing theming. This is the first thing that I've seen from Disney, other than Cars Land, that has been really heavily themed one area for one film.
Yes.
Cars Land does that. New Fantasyland does that for Beauty and the Beast in many ways, in the same way that kind of, Universal does it with Harry Potter. Not to that level, of course.
But also, Fantasyland also has Little Mermaid ride, which I think is a great ride that represents the movie very well. Mine Train, I've not been on the actual ride, so I don't know how that represents the film. Is that
It's really good, I think.
In terms of the themes and the plot of the movie, it represents the first 5 minutes of that movie, because it's just the hi-ho,
going out to
going to work,
mine the diamonds?
Doesn't all of Animal Kingdom kind of represent the Lion King?
In a way, Africa definitely has a lot of influence.
A whole country around it, the whole theme park around a movie.
All the stage shows that Disney does, those are obviously the best ways that they incorporate the plots of the films.
I think there are movies that are missing.
Okay.
I don't think there's enough for Mary Poppins.
I would agree with you.
I agree
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that
I don't think
too.
there's anything for the Emperor's New Groove, and I love the Emperor's New Groove.
Emperor's New Groove. I was going to say it's a guilty pleasure, but it's not
I think
guilty at all.
Yzma should be a face character.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Maybe a Halloween, like bring her out during Halloween or
don't
something
think
like
they
that.
ever
That'd be
have,
fun.
have they?
Like for the villains party, or no? That'd
Not
be
that
cool.
I can remember. To have Yzma would be amazing. And Kronk. Oh, man. That would be great.
I think that movie's underrated.
It really is. But there is a documentary about that movie, and I cannot remember what it's called. I'll try
Golden
to
Empire, something. I was just talking about it this weekend,
Yeah.
and somebody said it to me. Like it's like Golden Sun. It sounded like Empire of the Sun. That's why
Yeah.
I was confused. But
And it's about the making of that movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but how that movie went all over the place. And it was going to be a musical at first. They had Elton John on board, and how it just kind of changed and changed and changed.
I
It's
also don't
really
think
interesting.
Lilo and Stitch is represented enough.
No,
Hawaiian roller coaster ride.
exactly.
I mean, it is a ride in Disneyland Paris.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a ride?
But where would they put that, Kevin?
No,
Hollywood
it's Crush. I'm
Studios,
sorry.
I
That's
think.
Yeah,
Crush's coaster. No. Where would they put?
Adventureland?
I think
Well,
tomorrow, not. I guess if it's Hawaiian themed, I don't know.
I would like to see it in Hollywood Studios. I would like to see more
I mean,
movie.
a roller coaster
surrounded
where you sit in a
attractions
surfboard.
there.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I mean,
You
you've
know-
already got the song.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking of this morning while I was coming over? I was thinking that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory would be a really cool attraction somehow, with a chocolate river and those big boats.
However, the original movie,
Yeah.
not the
Really?
remake.
Not the Johnny
Not
Depp
the
movie.
remake, no,
The Gene
Murderous
Wilder one. Wilder.
the original, yeah.
You're turning violet, Violet.
So, somebody brought this point up, and I have some conversation pieces on this. Lisa Jones brings up the new Tangled area and bathrooms. I love the lanterns and looking for Pascal, and the tower is beautiful and makes a great photo op. While I agree with some of this stuff, that I think the theming, they did a good job, it's a bathroom.
Exactly.
It's just a real weird place.
And it's a bathroom with a tower that can be seen from like all over the park. And
Yeah.
I know Pete has brought this up before. I have a problem with it too, that you can see that from
Tomorrow, Future
Liberty
World.
Square
From the
is what I
Haunted
was
Mansion
thinking.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, Liberty's, I don't like that either.
They had Tangled, and it wasn't as successful as Frozen, made by the same production company. And now Frozen is all over the place, right? And yet Tangled just got a bathroom.
They're making this was my rapid fire for the show that was canceled. They were making a Tangled TV show where Zachary Levi and Mandy Moore are both going to reprise their
That's right.
voice roles of the movie.
That'll be on
from the
Disney
movie.
Channel, right?
Yeah, so I don't, maybe they knew. Well, I guess they wouldn't have known. That was years ago. Who knows?
Well, part of the best thing about Disney is, even though Tangled isn't represented that well in Disney World and Mary Poppins and all these other ones, they know how to diversify where their actual attractions are going. So if you want that Mary Poppins feel, you can always just go to Disneyland, and there is so much there. Now you can go on Disney Cruise Line and you can actually watch Tangled the musical there. So that's also something to keep in mind. Even though it's just not right at Disney World all the time,
Yeah.
it might be represented somewhere else in the United States and
What Mary
done
Poppins
very well.
ride?
Jolly Holiday.
Well, I mean, you have Jolly Holiday Bakery out there, and then you have the characters coming out multiple times a day. They're the end of Soundsational.
I do like that part of that parade.
They have a lot. I mean, then you have Jingles, Julie Andrews' horse on their carousel out there. So there's nice Mary Poppins tributes sprinkled out all around out there.
Meanwhile, I believe we can meet Mary Poppins at the UK at Epcot and at the Grand Floridian, right? That's pretty much all we have, I think.
No,
I think it comes out at Magic Kingdom.
isn't
too,
the
doesn't it?
carousel isn't that her horse on the carousel or something?
Here?
Yeah.
You
I
can see
don't-
the horse she used in the movie. At least she used to be at
Great movie ride.
at the Great Movie Ride.
It's
And
But
Dick
that's
Van-
gone.
And Dick Van Dyke's jacket was for sale in Sid Cahuenga's for like 40 years.
Just what you were saying earlier. Robert Parker on Facebook brings up this, Kevin, the Haunted Mansion, because let's face it, Jennifer Tilly nailed it.
Jennifer Tilly, she's just perfect in everything.
That's funny. So does anybody else have anything that maybe they really like how it's been incorporated in the...
I like I like Buzz Lightyear. I like the Space Ranger that said because
I know all you do is talk about yourself.
Really? So self-centered.
I'm just an IQ dropper over here. I'm sorry.
That's because he's endangered. The last gay rhino.
One of a kind here. And I ain't breeding with anyone, any of the females. But I like how it's not Toy Story. I like how it's like Buzz Lightyear's side of the story, and it fits there real well.
It's the fictionalized version of what Buzz Lightyear is supposed to be based off of, and they even created an animated television show.
I used to watch that. Yeah.
I forget what it was called. Buzz Lightyear of Star Command.
Yeah.
Philip. Sorry, Philip, I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name. Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin embodies the campy, retro future feel of that character.
Yeah.
My only thing with Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin as it stands right now is it really needs a cleanup. I don't know if you guys have done that lately. First of all, the cars are wobbly, the guns are wobbly.
They all need a paint. They're all got scratches and like you can see where like somebody had an accident. I don't know.
I think it could also benefit from some sort of digital upgrade. If they were to shut it down for a little while and make like the animations of the things that you shoot somehow digitally animated.
Did you do the one in Disneyland when we were out there?
I know there's really not much of a difference other than the gun comes out of the holster.
Well, they have the like. I liked how they were using the Z's would like appear and disappear, and they had like there was a little more interaction with what you were shooting at and the car. So I think like if they go the route you're saying, like it would be nice to, it would be more engaging. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Going back to Stitch's Great Escape, or Lilo and Stitch,
Yes.
I don't think that's an accurate representation of anything. It needs to kind of be bulldozed. That whole area needs to be bulldozed. I think the Monsters Inc. laugh for it.
It was good for a little while.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Well, Stitch's Great Escape kind of falls in the same thing we were talking about Buzz Lightyear. It's a separate side of the story that maybe you don't see too much. I mean, obviously in the actual Lilo and Stitch movie, you don't get the whole, space council, whatever it is.
Part of the problem is, I mean, we've had this conversation before. I think it's a great ride. I like it. So many people don't like that ride. So now you've got people who are avoiding the ride, and maybe people aren't being exposed to go back and look at the movie.
Yeah.
If you want people to watch the movie, put something that they're going to ride.
I think the problem I have with it was they fit that storyline into an existing attraction.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not really that different from Alien Encounter.
No.
So, I mean, what we did, and don't make anything else that spins.
Yeah, please
We've
don't.
got
Please don't.
Triceratops, we've got a
Teacups.
magic carpet, we've got teacups, we've got
An extra Dumbo.
and an extra Dumbo.
Hollowed out elephants.
Yeah. we spin enough.
One that I saw somebody put on Facebook that I happen to agree with was the Swiss Family Treehouse.
Yeah.
I do love that.
That is a movie that I did watch many, many years ago, and I was fascinated, like that you could build your house up in the trees.
It needs an escalator.
But
What I liked about that was it was as if the family like gone out to lunch or
Right,
something,
right.
and you could just roam around their house. And
Yeah.
that's kind of weird that I just said
and
that.
I thought it was neat because again Disney put all kind of details in there.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to, but they did.
Yeah.
And I think that's like underrated. A lot of people don't bother to
I
walk
agree with
up.
you, Kathy, because I loved that movie when I was a kid, and I just that was my like I'm terrified of heights, so it was my like grabbing the rails and somebody has to be in front of me, somebody had to be behind me. But I used to love that movie, and I was like, I can get to the top to see the bedroom, like, and I would kind of like crawl up.
Now, along
Everybody
the same
hated
lines,
me.
what about Tom Sawyer's Island?
Tom Sawyer Island. First of all, I'm not sure where. Was that ever a Disney movie, Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn?
Or is it just like they took the book?
Is that just like open? You
It
can
was-
just.
I think it was like a part of the TV stuff they did. Didn't they do a...
I'm not aware of that. I mean, I know the book, and then we can even flash forward to the god-awful 90s movie Tom and Huck with
Jonathan
Brad
Thomas.
Renfro and
JTT.
JTT, but obviously that stuff is just... I mean, Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn have been around in the lore for a long time, but even at Disneyland, and then I believe at one time in Disney World, they incorporated a lot more of like the keel boats and other stuff from the Davy Crockett series in and around that area that seem to have disappeared at this point in time. So it's very possible it might have been an episode of Wonderful World of Color. I haven't seen that many of them, unfortunately, because they're very unavailable, but
Yeah, I'm
I
not
would
sure
love
on
it.
that one.
Well,
But I think it does tell the story quite well.
Yeah.
It really does. One of the obvious major ones that is coming up. So it's Heather Miller says on Facebook, Cinderella Castle. The icon beckons one from afar. Ooh, she's wording this well.
That's because it's a weenie.
It's a weenie, as was intended. The park is a kingdom unto itself. The hub welcomes and pulls you into her story, to the heart, the castle. A quaint story unfolds in the mosaic, and I'm wishful of a Disneyland walkthrough, as in Sleeping Beauty Castle, as I walk through the corridor. That would put her more into her story. So she likes how the story unfolds already, but she would like to see a walkthrough in the castle.
There's not enough room.
I would love to.
But
There's
why
simply
didn't
not.
they
They
think
have a
so
hair
small?
salon.
Yeah, but you can barely even walk through the archway now too, because they always close it during the day for the stage show.
Right.
So it's getting more and more difficult to see that stuff.
But like, why didn't they, when they were designing the castle, why didn't they put something like that? I mean, it's nice the castle's there, but really, how much interaction can you have with that castle?
Because I think this was of a time where they were trying to do at least some different things to distinguish it from Disneyland. If they had done a walkthrough through it, it would have been the same type of castle in Disneyland. I agree. They should be something else that's Cinderella related in the castle,
Yeah.
but
I agree with you, and if they ever did something like that, they should go with the Disneyland Paris model, which is, I mean, it's not like in Disneyland where you go into these darkened rooms with no windows and you can
Okay.
just kind of wander around. Disneyland Paris's castle is built like a castle, and when you go in, there's balconies and there's overlooks and there's
Oh,
stairwells.
neat.
Oh, cool.
And
Wow.
and
it's,
if you go underneath, you see the dragon,
Oh,
the animatronic dragon.
The
Wow.
largest animatronic in the world.
That's
Yes.
working.
Really?
and
That
yeah,
actually works.
yeah, it's
Wow.
not Disco Yeti Betty.
Disco Yeti Betty.
That castle in Paris is gorgeous. Oh, it looks.
It really is.
I mean, I've only ever seen pictures of it online,
On
but
one of our trips, we had a cocktail party upstairs and then watched the crowd leave from the back
Oh,
balcony.
neat.
oh wow.
I wish we had something like that for Cinderella, because I don't know, other than her castle, where else
Restaurant.
she's
It's just the restaurant,
and
yeah.
restaurant. Where else
Like
she's really
Craig said,
represented.
she's out in the park all the time. I realize that's not an attraction, but neither is Mary
Well,
Poppins in Disneyland. I'm sorry, Jingle Jangle Bakery's not a Mary Poppins. That's not a Mary Poppins
We weren't
attraction.
just we've talked about Be Our Guests, so that's why it's all connected together, even if it's not attractions.
Now, I like this person's name, first off, and I don't think it's a real name. Stan Solo.
I was just going to say, is it Han Solo? I can't believe it ended up being Stan Solo.
It's Stan Solo. He says, "How can I forget about Star Tours? The attraction really puts you inside the movie, and now it's considered a Disney movie. I think I forgot about it because I can't ride it. Disney should have some broken shuttles that don't move." Okay, he kind of went off on a tangent there
Gets
at the
the
end.
nausea.
So anyway, now we're talking about new properties that Disney has, and I've got a feeling, I think we all have a feeling, that Star Wars is going to be even more heavily represented in the theme
It
parks.
just became a Black Eyed Pea.
I have a feeling.
Oh.
I just got the lyrics wrong. That's embarrassing.
You said it very appropriate.
I have a feeling. Star Tours is great. Again, it takes us on a side universe where they've created like a shuttle company, in the Star Wars universe. We're gonna see a whole lot more Star Wars coming up, and
The
I
thing
cannot
with Star Wars
wait.
is, I mean, you can't make a ride that literally tells a story anymore.
Yeah.
The story has become so much bigger than the original movie that you have to do something that's representative of the franchise.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see, because we talked about New Fantasyland and comparing that in some ways to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I think until they do Star Wars, some sort of Star Wars land, I would imagine that they would have to go in some sort of direction like that all immersive kind of
But
environment.
okay, I've only watched one, but out of the whole Star Wars franchise, what part of it should they put in there to appeal to Star Wars fans? Is
Ewoks.
it?
Oh, Kathy.
I'm just kidding.
No,
This
I
is
mean,
going to
like,
go on forever.
Kevin's already tired of talking Star Wars.
There are certain iconic images and characters that are associated with this franchise that will. Look, Darth Vader.
Darth Vader's
Okay.
Bakery.
You're talking about location, right?
no, just
Jingle
like
jangle, Darth Vader's Bakery.
how do you theme the?
I got you one, Kathy, right here. I already got it covered because I'm actually writing an article about this for
Oh.
the thing. So, Desert Land, Iceland, Forest Land. Three iconic, each one in the movie. It's Tatooine, it's
Okay.
Hoth, it's Endor.
It's like the end of Horizons.
Yeah, and then you can appreciate that without having seen the movie.
You can choose where you want to go. Put that crap back
Where's the
in.
best? Where's the weather that treats you the best? Go to that land.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see how well that makes its way.
Staying over in that side of the park, how about Muppet Vision 3D?
This, I feel like, over time, I feel like Disney couldn't commit to whether or not they wanted the Muppets in these theme parks.
Yeah.
That whole little square that's in Hollywood Studios that is supposed to be somewhat Muppet themed has kind of lost that theming over time, and now you just have the one attraction and the one store, and the fountain that's in the
That's
middle.
more than Mary Poppins gets, by the way.
That's true. The Jingle Jangle Muppet Parade or whatever it was. Because back when Hollywood Studios first opened, they had like a show where the Muppets would come out and play music, and they would do a live show. And then, of course, the Little Mermaid Theater was originally a Muppet puppet attraction, a show there. So there was a whole lot of Muppets going on in the theme parks. And now, I feel like now that Disney owns the Muppets, and that there have been 2 new movies coming out.
The TV show's coming out in the fall too.
And then there's a TV
Yeah.
show coming out. You've got a perfectly good Muppet movie theater.
Yep.
Why not switch out that film a little bit?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time. That would be my suggestion on the Muppets and how I think that could improve. Because don't get me wrong, I love Muppet Vision 3D. It's really funny. I think it might be time for an upgrade to really fulfill that, refresh that franchise. A lot of people mentioning all the stage shows, Finding Nemo, Festival of the Lion King are the big ones, and Beauty and the Beast, and a lot of Splash Mountain. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find a new one. Someone actually brings up Sarah Whittick. They say it's actually a tie for her between Mickey's PhilharMagic and Star Tours.
I do love
Mickey's PhilharMagic is still a sore point. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. That was Mickey Mouse Review. Never mind. I got all upset over nothing.
Both movies or both rides put you in the movie and are a great experience. This is mentioned in the article. This is kind of like the gray area with the movies. The Fab Five and those Disney characters are all over the place. Yet there's not one central storyline there. But I think we can all agree that Mickey Mouse and his friends are well represented. Mm-hmm. So is there any stuff that you guys feel like, any attractions you feel like could do better with the theming of that movie, the film that they're based on? Or is everything hunky-dory?
Well, I think we kind of covered, things that don't really tell the story, but represent the story and where we thought it was appropriate and not appropriate. I think it's a matter of there's so much intellectual property out there for Disney and very limited space in the parks. And you're not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do something again with Indiana Jones.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or the Rocketeer.
Or the Parent Trap.
I would love to see more of that.
Okay.
The live action stuff, their live action properties don't get too much love in the
I
theme
agree
parks.
with you, because when I was a kid, we used to watch a lot of the live action, the older movies, Swiss Family Robinson and stuff, and I feel like those are just kind of taking the back burner to the animated films, because I understand those are the most innovative, but, I like that feel of, like, Indiana Jones, because it harkens back to a different time, and, I don't know, it's adventure,
Now
it's excitement.
I'm going to throw out a rumor. The rumor is that the reboot of Indiana Jones is going to have Chris Pratt in it.
I wouldn't doubt it. He's going to be in everything that's awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
I agree. He's incredible.
He's already working with Disney, technically, because of Guardians, but...
So, does that warrant going to a new portion of Indiana Jones, or do we all love the original?
I think he's a character because, like, Indiana Jones is supposed to be those, like what is it, Saturday morning
50
cereals or
cereals
something?
from-
Yeah, and I think that they could still kind of keep in that theme where it could be all Indiana Jones still. So my hope is that when they make the new ones, it'll still kind of fit in that same
As long
umbrella.
as it's not Shia LaBeouf, I don't care.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Really?
Shia LaBeouf.
I wasn't joking about the Rocketeer. Rocketeer has that sort of Art Deco feel to it, which really fits in Hollywood studios.
I can't tell you how sad I was when they closed that portion of the back lot that had the cafe there and all the different props from the...
And the Rocketeer's backpack is like up on a shelf with the helmet. Oh, did you never in the prop warehouse?
Oh, yeah,
you
that's
see
right.
the backpack
Absolutely.
and helmet. But Kevin, in Disneyland, I found the the little roasty toasty hotchkiss guys, there's one that is the Rocketeer in Tomorrowland. I thought that was the coolest thing. Like I was like, what? They acknowledge it? It's the guys who make the popcorn.
Yeah.
Kathy knows what I'm
Roasty
talking
Toasty.
about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
They're in the
spin-
popcorn
Oh, yeah.
carts out
Corn.
there. They're called Roasty Toasties.
That's right.
And there's actually the Rocketeers in one. making
Yeah,
popcorn?
he's
That's
he's
cool.
turning his little popcorn machine. Yeah, it's
Wow,
really cool.
I didn't know that.
I have a picture of it. I'll show you when we're done.
Okay, cool. Well, that about does it for everything that is on Facebook. So unless you guys have anything you want to add at the end here, we'll go ahead and
I just want to say one thing.
yeah.
We talked about Frozen, and we've touched on the whole Frozen thing. I think there also has to be an appropriateness level.
Okay.
I think we've all discussed this, and we all think that Frozen in Epcot is inappropriate. I think anything like that in Epcot is inappropriate.
I agree.
Especially in World Showcase.
Yeah.
It's like putting the Aristocats in the France movie. It's just, it just.
So while I want to see more, rides and cool stuff go in, there has to be the right amount of it and where it goes and
Yeah.
how it's used.
Frozen, I agree with you. Frozen probably shouldn't be in Epcot or Animal Kingdom. It should probably either be in Studios or Magic Kingdom. They've put it in Norway. I know that it will probably be a very good, innovative ride, but I agree it's in an inappropriate place. And I think a lot of the internet feels the same way as you do, and I think most of us do. Okay. I think that is going to do it for this segment. Again, I will put links to as many of these attractions as I can, and of course, a link to the article, the top 10 most featured movies at Walt Disney World, and see what you guys think about this. And again, I encourage you to go to Facebook.com/DisUnplugged to get in on this conversation. We want to hear what you guys think about these different attractions. Which ones are your favorite in terms of the theming based on the movies? So with that is going to do it for us on this episode of the Dis Unplugged. We hope you have a good week. See you next time.